everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Ball with me, Collie. This week I'm joined by Paddy.
Hello.
What's the crack, Paddy? And Connor.
Hello.
Have both of your balls dropped again since last night?
Oh, what a day. What a day. What a day. That was
we
unreal,
had a moment in that copy.
Yeah, it was nice, yeah. There's a little video that's going around now. Two weird faces.
Share for the people that don't know. What did you do yesterday?
Where did we go? We went to DT Sports Recovery. Not that I've anything to recover from, because I'm a fat fucker now, like so. But look, I have legs, so it kind of helped. Yeah, so that was pretty much it. But no, it was deadly. Anyone that does any kind of sports or anything like that, definitely give the lads a shout. They're over in Killock, and they'll look after it. It's a serious kind of recovery session. Ice baths, jacuzzi, sauna, and
yellow snacks.
Yellow snack bars as well. They brought out the right colour snack bars as
and
well.
Like, because there was more than one ice bath. Why did they make you share one?
No, we
chose that.
Yeah.
The couples treatment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, lads, we have another guest on this week. He is a former League of Ireland player, played for Drogheda, Cork, Galway, Waterford. He now plays for Hartlepool United. We are joined by Gavan Holohan. Gav, what's the crack?
How are you, lads? How are you getting on?
A former teammate of mine is my claim to fame here. That's about all I can offer this podcast this week.
Collie was the mascot.
Yeah,
yeah.
I wouldn't class Water.
Yeah,
can't be classed as a teammate.
Yeah, exactly. Gav, usually what we do is at the start of the podcast, we'll just jump into questions that were sent in by a couple of followers on the Instagram page. So we're going to do that. We're not going to change it up. We're going to go straight onto that. So we're going straight into the question section. Now, I say it every week as well, top-notch quality production. What do you think? Every week I say it.
Yeah, and nobody ever answers. Everybody just looks awfully obvious.
I'm just like, is that it?
Right, we're going to jump on the question. So we'll do now a little round robin here. So I'll jump in first with the first one. So this was sent in by Sean Lucas. Would you ever come back to the League of Ireland? And if so, to who? Hard one to answer, I suppose. But
yeah, it is a tough one to answer. Yeah, it's one of them. It's like I never say never, but at the minute I'm pretty happy over here in the UK, and I just think there's, I suppose, a bit more opportunity and that to kind of progress my career. So, but I'd never say never. And yeah, who knows who I'd come back to? You'd obviously hope to, if you did come back, to come to one of the top teams, like so. But yeah, it's hard to answer that one.
Yeah, right. Paddy, do you
said Rovers, move on.
Yes, sir. Okay, so this suppose with the Ireland team, is it too late for an Ireland cap, or would you always still have it as a hope?
Yeah, that's miles gone now. That's miles gone now. Yeah, I'm 30 now, so like, yeah, I think that ship has sailed. Like, but yeah.
Would you?
It is. What?
Would you like to get a cap for Ireland, even now?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, that was always a dream of mine. Yeah, always a dream of mine, but just unfortunately, the career didn't obviously plan out as probably, I suppose, I would have hoped. But look, that's the same with hundreds of players. Like, but yeah, no, I always would have been something that I would have loved to have done. But yeah, that might be maybe beyond me now at this stage.
You did get caps so at a younger age, didn't you?
Yeah, I got caps with under 17s and 19s. Yeah, so I got a few caps when I was younger, but yeah, never just for the senior team.
Yeah. Right, we'll move on to the next one. Connor, do you want to jump on this one?
Excluding yourself, obviously. Who's the best player you're playing with at the moment?
Oh, I've got some good players to
you
be
get
fair.
Stick. You get stick now.
Let's be honest, nobody is going to listen to this that you're playing with. So you might as well just go and spill the beer.
Yeah, safe. Yeah. I would probably say our captain, Nicky Fev, is a really good player. Nicky Featherstone is his name. We've got another kid, Luke Molyneux. He's like a winger type. He'll have a proper good career in the game. Like, and then we've got we've got a more experienced lad, Gary Little. Like he's had a good career over here. He's played League One, League Two most of his career, but yeah, he's played for a few clubs like Bradford, Carlisle, and stuff like that. He's played over. I think he's creeping up to like 700 league appearances. So he's quality. Yeah,
About 200 clubs.
Yeah. 10 per club. Right. Well, we'll jump on. So we had another one that's not really a question. It was just Hartlepool in 1987 signed the deal and stay. So that's just someone voicing their desire for you to stay at the club. So
no deal. So.
Yeah. Well, what's the deal? Yeah. We have a question that we ask every guest. So we'll ask you. You'll be no different. If your house was on fire and you had to run in and grab 2 things from your career, what would they be?
Cherry Orchard jersey signed by Collie Coleman.
I was going to say my milk cup Cherry Orchard jersey.
I love it.
Milk cup Cherry Orchard jersey, yeah. And then what would I say? Probably my promotion final medal, something like that.
Yeah, sure. I have on the little graphic. I have you with the thing on the cup. It's fucking quality. What a picture!
Yeah.
That's actually a quality picture. Like.
Yeah, it's class. Yeah, it's deadly.
I just noticed one thing as well. There's a couple of comments in, so I'll just pull a couple of them up on the screen there. Ronan McCann, Holohan, obviously a Hartlepool fan. JMW, we've got an Irish midfielder. AC Claresy, I presume that is our former boss at Cherry Orchard. His name is Gavan Holohan.
It is as well. Yeah, is he watching this live?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. He must be sending in comments. He's nothing else to be doing.
What a loser! What a loser!
Get a life! Get a life,
Claresy. Jesus.
Yeah, you when you're in the blue, and then Holohan. Yeah, so a couple of comments there. Sorry, there's another one actually that we will ask you. There you go. There's one. Can you ask Gav? Does you know Alex Clare and Paul Clare? Yeah, I presume. Yeah, he does.
I do, absolutely, yeah. They're actually
another one here. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say they're coming over to our the FA Cup game on Saturday, Crystal Palace.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, against Palace. Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about that later as well. But just a quick one in the comments there as well. Good questions. What made you come to the pool? So, how did you find yourself landed there? Like,
I suppose when I decided to kind of take another crack at it and go back over to the UK. There's a few clubs kind of interested, but my agent is actually from Hartlepool, so he had a few connections there. So kind of just came from that, and I just went in. Obviously, was training for a while, had a look at the club, and just obviously just thought it was somewhere that I could see myself like playing, and obviously the ambition of the club and stuff like that. So it was somewhere I wanted to go.
Right, we're going to jump off the questions, so we're going to jump back onto the normal stuff. So look, we always talk about schoolboy careers starting off with the guests. Obviously, me and yourself have a good few stories that we could kind of reminisce about. Some of them are fucking comical. Just the milk cup alone had about 20 of them. I wrote a few down just to refresh the memory for you. I don't know whether you remember some of them.
Just to relive our glory days, Collie. That's all they're fucking doing.
These are just stories. Nothing about me being a good player because I wasn't.
This is your life.
These are quality stories that were fucking brilliant. The one I have, and I don't know if you remember this, Gav, was we had Crouchy. I can't remember what his real name was, but he was about to jump. He was about to jump out the top window of a 2-story building because one of the lads told him it was a good idea.
Oh my god!
Oh my God! What a Christ! So
he was off his head when I.
Oh man, that fella was he was 6'4" or something like that. He was an absolute giant and probably the thickest person I've ever met. If he's watching it, I'm sorry, but you were the thickest person I've ever met in my life. Like I swear to God.
How are you?
It's good to say again. The other one that I don't know what was your. How did you see this one going? But when we got into the fight with Hearts.
Oh, stop! That was unbelievable. Like that's one of my best memories.
That one? Oh, 100%. How do you remember that going?
Yeah, because we were staying like in the apartment block, weren't we? And it was like there was like that big green area across the road, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we, I think we were walking over to dinner one night, and then
Yeah.
we met some of the Hearts boys. Were we?
I thought the way I had it in my head was that we were out playing football, and then there was a few birds
Maybe
that the
that was
lads were trying to impress, and then Hearts came around the corner then, and we're kind of trying to give it the big one, like, and challenge us to a game. I think
that might be it. Yeah, and one of them made a comment, didn't they? Who was it? Was it Davy Cannacott? Went over and
I don't know. I remember there being 2 tackles. I can't remember who it was, but I don't know whether I either got tackled or I tackled someone. And then I thought I remember Valo or Porridge coming over and digging some fella in the side of the head, and then it just fucking broke.
It would have been one of them, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And then off in the distance, I see your brother Emmett coming over on his crutches at the time, trying to break it up with the crutches.
He wouldn't do anything. Even if he was off crutches, he wouldn't have done fuck all anyway. So I don't know why he was.
It was so funny. It was absolutely hilarious. That was one. That's one of my favorites.
It was like a scene from Braveheart or something like that. It was just carnage, just people just like scrapping all over this fucking big green area. It was brilliant.
You couldn't write it. The other thing as well that we had kind of up there. This was all kind of in the one trip. The whole secretary and abuse that we got, that was completely blown out of proportion. Like,
yeah, that was
I think like 2 or 3 drunk lads went by and threw a few rocks at the houses and stuff like that, and then it was all over news down south. Like it was all over the place. Like, and I don't know, did Clarity do a TV interview, or he done some sort of interview? And it was like, I remember reading after a few years later, going, Jesus Christ, it was like the lads were really afraid, they were in the house and all. Like, I don't remember any of that.
We thought it was class. We thought it was unreal. We were like, this is unreal. Like, that was blown out of proportion massively. Like,
big
massively.
time.
But I do remember that. Yeah, pretty mental that.
That one was a bit weird. The other one I have, so I'm going to jump away from the Milk Cup just for a sec. Do you remember going to the nightclub in Spain? Now, if Clarity is still watching this, this is probably one of his worst memories he'll ever have, because what happened that night was absolute madness.
To this day, right? Honestly, to this day, I'm 30 years of age now. That is the drunkest I've ever been in my life. Like I've never been that drunk in my life before. And we were all only 16. 16,
because 16 was the legal age to drink over in Spain, so we all got
into just can't do this. What happened? What happened? Just what happened?
It was just absolute, like, it was absolute mayhem, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we were at that tournament in Barcelona, weren't we? And we didn't have a game for a couple of days or something. Or no, maybe it was like we'd finished the tournament, and we said to Clearsy that, like, the gaffer. Yeah, we said to Clearsy, we were like, can we go out for a few pints or whatever? And he was just like, right, you can go for a few pints, but only a few. You need to be back by, I don't know, what was it, 10 o'clock or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And you want to see the state of some of us, like, literally being dragged home from it at like about 4 a.m, wasn't it? Like, literally being at 16, like, everyone just spewing up all over the place. Like, at 16, you can't handle your drink anyway.
Absolutely brilliant. I remember him I think he had to put his fingers down one of the lads' throats because he was so drunk, like, and he was so afraid of him, like, swallowing his own sick. I'm nearly 100% sure he had to stick his finger down someone's throat to make them get sick.
Yeah, he did, because you not remember the next morning. Then we had a massive big meeting with the secretary and all that, like all the head honchos at Cherry Orchard and stuff, like. And Clearsy was making this big speech, and he was bawling his eyes out, crying. He was like, I had to have me on your throat to save your life and all this.
Was his fingers?
It was absolutely sorry. Kelly was absolutely twisted. Like, it was so fucking funny. That was.
Kelly was he's absolutely hammered him. But yeah, that was Jesus, we got some shit for that. Like,
that tournament itself was a fucking shambles, wasn't it? When you think back about it.
Oh, it was corrupt as fuck, wasn't it?
Oh, you want to see what happened, lads? It was like the referee. Wasn't there a penalty shootout? Am I right in saying that? Was there a penalty shootout that we had and we had scored or something like that? And they said that the keeper, Jer, I think it was Jer in goal at the time, and he He saved the penalty, and then I think I was supposed to hit the last penalty, and then it got retaken, and they scored it, and they ended up going through.
Yeah, that was right. Yeah, and it was absolute mayhem then, like, wasn't it? Remember my mum was on the pitch then, like, thinking that she could speak Spanish, like, she's like, bastardo.
Absolutely.
I was like, oh, fucking hell, man, got off the pitch.
Fucking classic it was, like. But that was an absolute shambolic tournament. Another one I want to cash. I remember back to. I don't even remember this one, but you remember we went down the country and played in the cup, and we had that ref. I think it was in Derry or something like that. Was it?
No, it was down in oh God, where was it?
Oh, it was something.
Charleville, that's the one in Cork.
Because I remember something to do with fucking cheese or something like that. I remember that always being said.
That's right.
But we played a game. It was in, what was it? I don't know. Was the quarterfinals of the All Ireland or something like that? And
quarterfinals, yeah, it was a big game.
And the whole town of Charleville was out to watch. And I think Nataro had been sent off. I had been sent off. I think Ian Johnson had been sent off, but someone didn't leave the pitch even, and he played on. And what the fuck else happened? We gave a penalty when they dived, and it was an absolute shit show. Like,
that was the worst I've seen. Yeah, but didn't we find out then, because it was bad though. Like, literally, we were being like absolutely robbed. We were being robbed out of it. Like, and then it was like, didn't we take it to court or something like that? And then we found out that he was like son of the secretary of Charleville or something.
He was a local or something, and he was only like, he was only 17 years of age or something like that. And we were fucking whirling abuse at him. We were like, after the game, like you would have thought he was about 24, 25. Like, Jesus Christ, you got abuse over that. They're just some of the funny things I had wrote down. The other thing that doesn't bring a great memory back is the cup final against Crumlin. That was one of the hardest ones I thought as kind of a player of a Cherry Orchard. That was heartbreaking, that one was.
Yeah, that still stings to this day.
It does, doesn't it? Like, even do you remember Kellyar's goal in that one? And we have it on video. What a shot! I got that on the video. That's fucking brilliant. Every year that pops up on me Facebook, and we get the.
What score was the final? How did it finish up?
2-1. Andy Boyle scored in literally the last kick of extra time.
Boyle killed us,
yeah. I scored a header, and then do you remember I scored the exact same goal, and one of the Crumlin players had pushed their defender into the goalkeeper, and they gave a free out after it scored the second one to make it 2-1. And then they Andy Boyle literally scored the last kick of the game. We ended up losing. Good.
Devastating that. Yeah, because we always had we had a good team, didn't we? But Crumlin were just different level, and we were always trying to catch them and always trying to compete with them. But it was tough, but that would have been our first bit of silver, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I always thought at that age that Crumlin always had the better team, but we had some good players, but they had a better squad of players. To be honest, the likes of myself, I didn't think I was anywhere near that level. And there was one, I'd say there was probably three or four. I'd say there was 3 or 4 in that team. Looking back, that you probably would have said, probably weren't at the level. But I think Crumlin, at the time, Crumlin had Connor Clifford, Richie Towell, did Darius Attell up front, did Andy Boyle at the back. They had all these players that are really
Aaron
fucking solid.
Gav Gunning. The list goes on, the amount of those players that went away to England was it was frightening, really.
Yeah. So
whereas you probably had a couple from our team who eventually got over,
it was probably yourself. Giggles went over for a while, didn't he? Or did he just play League of Ireland maybe?
No, Giggles went over to Derby. Yeah, forgot that actually.
Oh yeah, okay. There wasn't many else, though, was there? I think that was it.
No, I'm trying to think. No, it actually wasn't. No, I think it might have just been me and Giggles.
Yeah, goes to show. He could have. If his attitude wasn't just to be a lazy fucker, he definitely would have made it. He
could have went to Man United. Honestly, he was that good. He was that good. Honestly,
he was
frightening.
What happened to him?
He couldn't be arsed. He just literally.
He wasn't arsed. We literally played in Ballyfermot, and he was 2-second walk across the road, and he was late for fucking everything, like strolling down, and it'd be the slowest walk in the world. Like, and this chap had like outrageous talent, like as a defender, like centre half. And he carried me through about 4 years of my bleeding career there. Like, but he was outrageous. He was like, it's like you couldn't get by him. Like he had the pace, and he was class in the air. Like,
good stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It was good time. We're gonna move off that, Gav. We'll move on to kind of what happened after that. So, Paddy, do you want to jump in there?
Yeah, I was looking at your career today. You started off about 17. You were when you went to Hull, first of all.
16. Yeah, 16. Yeah.
16. Yeah, you were there for a few years. Then you've come back to Ireland. Now you're back in England. I suppose. How do you think your career has went? Are you happy with where you've ended up? You've been with great clubs in Ireland. You're doing well now in England, really well. So I suppose the move from England to Ireland, back to England, what's the biggest differences? And I suppose, are you enjoying your football where you are now?
Yeah, like I suppose, just like to answer your first question, like everyone, like Collie would have been the same. Obviously, you're starting out, like you have this dream of playing Premier League football for Man United or Chelsea in his case, like, or whatever. But realistically, you're talking 1 in a million who do that, like, you know what I mean? So after you realize that that's not going to be the case, you just try and make as good a career as you can, like, and as good a living from your career as you can. So yeah, like I've been lucky to play for some like top clubs back home in the League of Ireland, obviously. And then, yeah, it was just always something that was in the back of my mind about having another crack back over in the UK. So yeah, at the moment, I'm obviously doing well over here. I'm at a good club, playing at like a decent level, and like I said, yeah, enjoying my football.
Good stuff. I suppose I just want to hit on a point that we've been hitting with a lot of guests over the last couple of months. When you went to Hull, you were young, like you're only 16, 17. Were you living over there on your own? Did you have family with you? And how did you manage that at such a young age?
No, so when I first moved over, so they basically just put you into digs, basically, where you're just staying with a family. Right. And they obviously look after you. The club obviously pays them to look after you. So yeah, I was usually in digs with maybe one of the other lads that was on the team with me. I stayed with a fella from Belfast for 2 years, like, so the two of us were pretty close, like, so that made it easier, I suppose, like when you're living with somebody else who's in kind of the same boat as you, having moved across like across the water and stuff like that. So but yeah, I suppose like when you move across at that age, at 16, even though you are being looked after by a family, you do have to, I suppose, grow up a bit quicker than you would if you were at home and just arsing about back home. Do you know what I mean?
And you have a lot of time when I suppose when you're not playing football or training, there's an awful lot of free time there, I suppose, to fill. So how did you manage doing that? Like, were you just sitting on your PlayStation, or, you know?
Yeah, just any way you could, really, just to pass the days. Like I said, like box sets and on PlayStations and going out trying to pull birds and stuff like that. So just being a normal 16-year-old lad, like, yeah.
That's it. Don't be filtered on the pod. You're grand. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, that's what we want to hear. We'd all be the same. We're all 16 months. No, good stuff. Thanks very much, Connor. I'll pass to yourself.
Yeah, I've got one big question. Obviously, we're playing with Hartlepool. There's one member of the media who everyone wants to know. One, have you met Jeff Stelling? And two, if you have, what's he like?
Yeah.
Like we all know Jeff pretty well. He's always comes to a lot of the games and stuff, and so we've met him on a number of occasions. Like he's a top man. Like he's sound. He really is. Like, and he's a massive fan. Obviously he's born and raised in Hartlepool. Like, so he's a massive fan. So he's been a massive supporter of us and obviously me personally over the years.
Sweet. And one thing that Paddy mentioned there as well about that transition from England back to Ireland at such a young age, like when you came back over, how did you get yourself back into that routine and that habit to force a move back across the water? We've seen so many people come back at a young age. I know so many people have come back at a young age and either gave up, didn't have the heart to go back into it, just couldn't get the dedication back to go back across. Did you have to think about it yourself? Did you give yourself time to assess if you wanted to go back? Like, what was your mindset when you came back to Ireland?
I suppose, look, I don't know. I just always kind of had it in me. I always had that that determination. I think that's kind of what like you're going to have a lot of players with talent and stuff like that. But say we speak about Nataro and whatever, had unbelievable talent. But I think if you don't have that mindset and that determination to actually put in the hard yards and the graft and all that, then it's not going to happen. Luckily I've always had that in me. So when I came back, obviously I was, I suppose, disappointed that it didn't work out how I had planned, but I just kind of thought it's a chance to kind of restart my career in a way. And then always kind of fancied myself to have another crack at it and get back across the water, because I had obviously sacrificed so much for my career that I just felt like it would just be a waste if I just packed it in.
Just want to, could I just ask you something, Gav? Right, you went over to Hull. What was it? Phil Brown that was in charge at the time, and were you kind of I know what were you there for 4 years? Were you floating in and around the first team, or what way was that working out for you?
Yeah, so when I first moved over, I was obviously in the youth team. Phil Brown was the gaffer at the time, and we just got promoted into the Premier League. So yeah, the club was massively on the up, and there was a massive hype around the club at the time, and a lot of money being pumped into the club. And then obviously as I worked my way up, I was in and around the first team. I was I suppose part of the squad for half a season maybe under Nigel Pearson. So he liked me, obviously rated me. So he always had me in and around the first team. Just obviously never got that opportunity to obviously break through and make my debut and stuff, which was, I suppose, frustrating at the time, because I felt like I was getting closer and closer. And then I think he ended up going back. He had come from Leicester, and then he had a couple of years at us, and then he ended up going back to Leicester. So that kind of killed me in a way, because he was obviously a big supporter of mine.
Yeah, and when you were there, I suppose, was the likes of Jimmy Bullard now would have been there. Jimmy was there at the time when you were there, was he?
Yeah, he was.
What was he like? And I have to ask you what he was like. I'd say he's fucking mental,
Oh, absolute mad as a box of frogs, just literally off his head. Some of the shit that he used to do, in and around the training ground, was just, it was funny as fuck.
Would he be more kind of practical joke kind of thing, or would it just be the stupid, you see on Soccer AM, kicks the ball and it's some ridiculous shout that he makes or something like that?
Yeah, no, he just some of the stuff he'd come out with, some of his comments and that he'd come out with would just have everyone just howling, but yeah, practical jokes, and that he'd just always be just winding people up and just acting a clown basically.
Yeah, it's mad actually when you think about what he's done from just being a footballer to coming out and doing everything after with TV and stuff like that. Is that something that you would plan on doing in the future? Or what do you have a plan then after? Do you? Sorry, Paddy. I know Paddy asked me. Was saying that he's going to ask you this earlier. I'm just stealing your question because I've just been led on to this one, Paddy. Sorry.
Yeah, obviously I don't feel like I have enough high of a status to maybe take over Soccer AM or anything but it is
beyond the ball.
Start from the bottom.
It would be something I'd be interested to get into, the kind of media side of it. Seems to be kind of the way most footballers go. They either go the coaching route or they go maybe into the media side of it. I'd probably be one that would kind of favor maybe the media side of it, because coaching is just I feel like it's football in itself. As a player, it's dog eat dog, and I think when you go into coaching, it's even worse. It's cutthroat. You literally, there's no security. No, you could be out of a job in 6 months, out of nowhere. So it doesn't really interest me.
Paddy, we were talking earlier about the I suppose the initiative or whatever it's called that Crystal Palace are doing now. Where is it an aftercare for players that are coming out of football, or is it?
Yeah, I think it's just about player welfare, because touching back on the question I asked earlier about, as a young lad, how you looked after yourself outside of when you're with the club, because we've heard a lot of stories about, people turning to the drink or gambling or whatever, because they haven't had being grounded with maybe a family life, they've been brought away from their home and stuff like that. So Crystal Palace now have coming out, and they're one of the first English clubs to actually say that they're setting up a support structure for all footballers for not only when they're in the club, but for when they finish with the club, to send them, say, maybe do college courses and stuff like that. Do you think that's something that's good that should be in the modern game at every club for players?
Absolutely. It's long overdue that, like, it should have happened 10, 15 years ago, like, I think, anyway. I seen that there last week, and I just thought, like, it's unbelievable. Like, stuff like that should have been in place for years, because it is the case. Like, you have players getting released. It was similar for me. It was just like, right, you're on your own now. Like, do you know what I mean? It's basically just kind of sort yourself out. And but yeah, no, I think it is important, because, like, when players, especially players leaving school at a young age and stuff like that, they're basically putting all their eggs in one basket into football. And then if it doesn't work out, then they're kind of up shit creek. Like, so I think it is important to have that structure in place, that they can get into other things if they can't obviously kind of pave a way for themselves, like, in football.
No, absolutely. I suppose staying with the latter part of your career, there's a player playing for United called Ronaldo. He's 37 now, saying he's going to play into his 40s. How many more seasons do you think you have in the legs?
God, I hope I look like Ronaldo at 37, like, but
you don't look like about 30, so I don't think you have a chance.
he's a freak of nature, though. Nah, but look, I'm one of them. I've always kept myself in decent shape and decent condition, and looked after myself. So if I keep doing that, I've never had any, touch wood, any serious injuries or anything like that. Yeah. So doing that, I can play till I'm.
So that's, I suppose, feeds into my next question. How do you look after yourself at this, because you know you're coming now to the latter stages of your footballing career?
Saying that like 30 is old. I'm like, I'm fucking offended.
No, hang on.
Well, I'm 40 on Saturday and I'm talking like this.
The funniest bit is Gav saying he was keeping himself in Nick, and then looking at Collie in the fucking ice bath last night. Both just saying the same thing.
Like a whale getting in an ice bath. There was embarrassing.
You feel good, and for preparation wise, do you change how you prepare for games and you train than you would have in your mid-20s, or are you still the same?
No, I suppose you can get away with stuff when you're younger, do you know what I mean? Whereas you can't be naive to think that you'll still get away with that when you get into your 30s and stuff like that. So you have to start looking after your body a bit more. Like I said, I've always had a good diet and stuff like that. I've never been one to, like, kind of let myself go or anything like that. I've always kept myself in decent condition. Like, so I suppose if you have that routine for so long, it's easy to maintain that. So I think it's important. Yeah, you need to look after your diet and all kind of like yoga, stuff like that. Like, I do a bit of yoga and all that kind of stuff, like, just to keep the body kind of, like, so it doesn't stiffen up, basically. Like,
some Gigs was saying he got into his 40s because of Pilates and yoga and stuff like that, you know, really extended his career.
Yeah, it's massive now, to be fair, in football. I think pretty much everyone's having a go at it, like, because it obviously clearly does help. If it worked for him, it'll work for us, like.
Absolutely. I'm sorry to brighten it up a little bit, just before I go to Connor. You're playing a big game this weekend. Who are you looking forward to coming up against?
Not Zaha, anyway. Not fancy chasing him back. Look, it'd be good. Obviously, they're established Premier League team, so it'll be He's
feeling confident going into it.
Yeah, it's one of them. Like, you've literally nothing to lose. Like, you just go into the game, enjoy it. Yeah. Look, obviously, we're massive underdogs, like, so, but funnier things have happened in football. There's no pressure on us, all the pressure's on them, so you just have to go and just try and express yourself.
I'll be cheering you on. I'm a United supporter, and that Vieira fella annoys me, so yeah, I'll definitely be cheering you on.
I'm going to nut him in the tunnel.
Yeah. I was going to give him the Gary Neville handshake, you know, the squeeze of the hand.
Connor, jump onto you there for a bit.
Yeah, I suppose looking back on to when you joined Hull and when you made that move across, and as you mentioned, you couldn't have been on the fringe. Like, was there any player who took you under their wing, for instance, who was a big idol for you, who looked after you when you were coming up, kind of maybe from the youth setup and like touching on to the first team?
Well, to be fair, Hull, like, I was lucky at the time because there was a massive Irish contingent there at the time. Like, we had like to say Robbie Brady, who I would have played with in the Irish setup when I was younger. So I knew Robbie, Paul McShane, obviously Kevin Kilban, Irish legend. Like, so he actually turned out to be, once he obviously packed it in and he retired, he ended up being my reserve team manager. So he was massive for me. So Killer was massive for me, and Nick Barmby as well. He was very good for me as well. So players like that, like obviously massive experience, who had great careers in the game, like just obviously learning from them and watching how they handle themselves like on and off the pitch was a massive like learning curve. Yeah.
Did you get put on boot cleaning duty?
It was never like mandatory, but it was just like, as a respect thing, you'd offer to clean one of the pro, like the senior pros boots and whatever, and he might throw you a few quid, like, but it was never like
did you clean them? How much did he give you? That's all. I'm not down the rabbit hole.
I used to go for whoever was on the most money at the club, just to
name a name.
Yeah. Who would have been on? To be fair, Bullard would have been on some decent cash, so he was a good one to go to. Yeah.
So would it be like a race between like the younger players of go in and nail somebody and get the boots off them as quick as you could, or?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, it was pretty much, first come, first serve, basically.
Like the fucking Hunger Games trying to get a pair of boots.
Taking
and
people
like,
out.
But I mean, what was the going rate for cleaning boots from a senior player?
And it might throw you like 50 quid or something like that. It was, if you like, exactly, for a young lad. Like. Yeah, no, for a young lad, that's massive, like, yeah. So, Did you ever fuck
up the boot cleaning duty?
Clean the inside, get the inside of the boot wet. Oh, nothing worse.
No, like did you miss a bit? Did you miss a bit, or did you cover it with black oil when the boots are red? Or
no. We did. To be fair, we didn't have many of the players who would have like the polish and all that on their boots. It was just basically just cleaning them and get all the muck and the stuff off them. Like that was basically.
Yeah, no one was cleaning Giovanni's boots anyway.
Yeah, Giovanni, yeah, Jesus.
Right, Gav. So look, obviously you made the move back. Sorry, my dog is down mad there. Obviously you made the move back over to Ireland. How was your time? And I know like you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but was it a thing like who was it we were talking to before? Was it Paul Bourne? I think who played for Celtic before. He was saying that like when you make that move back over, it's kind of a thing where you, in your own mind, you're thinking, people are thinking about me, right? I haven't made it. Like now, how do I get my mindset into proving a point? And like, did you feel that when you came back, you'd hear things like, and that would distract you, or was it always kind of just focus on what you were doing? Like,
yeah, like I think like I've said this before, like I felt like there was always a bit of a stigma for players like who would come back from the UK, and I think that's why players were always reluctant to come back and play in the League of Ireland, like because they seemed, or it made them feel like it seemed like a bit of a failure or whatever. But realistically, it's once you get back to the League of Ireland, you realize how competitive the league is and how much of a platform or it can restart your career. And again, like it's not really. It's basically just. It's like a massive opportunity to play in a proper league, basically. So it was. Yeah, so it was never something that really bothered me. I just thought, right, I might have to take a step back to take a couple of steps forward, basically, and kind of like basically just try and pave a way for myself in my career.
And you obviously, Drogheda was the first team you were at, wasn't it? How did you find that kind of initial coming into the club where people, because you were over in England, were people saying, right, like you automatically kind of got that respect, or was that still a thing, I suppose, like lads will be lads in the dressing room and you kind of have to earn it a bit, like we automatically nearly given that, or was it kind of you still had to prove yourself to the rest of the lads?
No, like I think you need to earn it, because as soon as I went into Drogheda, you kind of realized you're in with experienced League of Ireland pros, like who have been around the League of Ireland for years, played for some good clubs, like, and played a lot of games in the league, like, so it was one of them. You had to earn their respect just as much. Like it wasn't just like some kid coming back from the UK. It was never a case of that. It was basically like you were starting from scratch again, like, and you had to earn your stripes as such, like.
And how did you kind of find playing for them teams? I know you had a decent enough career at Drogheda, 31 appearances and 6 goals. You start kind of chipping in with a good few goals. Like I think, and even lately with Hartlepool, you've been kind of getting a lot more goals than I suppose at the start. Like even looking at your Hartlepool stats, 93 appearances and 20 goals. Like for a midfielder, you're talking Frankie Lampard stats there. Like is that something you've added to your game? Have you changed that? Like you would have thought, like as you
Don't
get
get me
older, you
started
kind
on
of
Frank Lampard. Jeez.
no. Like, Lampard gets a mention every game. I'm now an Everton supporter, so no, I'm messing. No, but like, is that something that you've added to your game? Is kind of like trying to get them goals because you sometimes you see it the opposite way when you as Paddy would say, get older. You see yourself nearly dropping a bit deeper, but is that something that you've added is kind of going forward a lot more, or is that something the gaffer decides?
No, like I suppose I I've always had that. Like you probably remember from Cherry Orchard, I was always one to kind of like I was more of an attacking midfielder, like do you know what I mean? And I wanted to get myself in the box and score goals and stuff like that. But I suppose it's one of them that you kind of just as your career like progresses, you get more experience, so you kind of like develop. Yeah, you find ways, you develop a bit of a knack for it, which I kind of have over the last, I don't know, 6-7 years in my career or whatever, back home and then obviously over here. So no, it's a part of my game, and it's like I suppose it's a bit of a strength of mine. Like makes up for my other weaknesses in my game, I suppose.
How kind of tactical and technical is it at that level? So obviously we've all seen the documentaries at the elite level with United with Spurs and the rest of them. Like how tactical and technical is it at that level? Is it just as kind of tactical and technical, but you don't have kind of the money, I suppose, in behind it?
Say it again, Golly.
Tactical and tactical.
Technical. Our facilities are definitely not what Spurs facilities are, put it that way. So no, but I suppose you'd have similar, just to that extent. Like you have all the sports scientists and all that kind of stuff, like nutritionists, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, it would be similar, just not to that extent of like Spurs or a Man City, like. But no, I suppose the football from what it was, I don't know, 15-20 years ago, like in the lower leagues in England, has progressed massively, like with all that kind of stuff. Like you have your analysis teams and your, like I said, sports scientists, your nutritionists, and all that at pretty much every club. So it's definitely progressed massively, like.
Cool. Before I jump on to one of the lads there, just there was a couple of comments in, so I'll just run through them real quick there. One in from me dad, Gav. There's there, Gav. I presume he's talking about the Barcelona thing. You swore to me you weren't drinking, you little bollocks. There you go. So there you go. JMW, what was your first club? I think we covered that there. I think we covered that. Shane, don't answer this one, please, Gav. I know a lot of guests from other episodes have said spend less and save more. Now in your 30s, when you decide to hang up views, can you live comfortably and never work again? Gav, that's his own, Shane, that's his own personal finances. We won't be discussing that in the podcast. Was Gavin at Hull when Robertson and Maguire was there?
No, that was a couple of years after me. I think they probably came maybe 2 years after I left. So yeah, I wasn't there when they were there.
Okay.
Slaphead.
The biggest head in the world, and United haven't scored in about 107 corners.
80 million slaphead. Crazy.
And the next one then is from JMW. Gav, do you play FIFA?
I don't. I've never. Yeah, I'm not a massive gamer. Like I used to be when I was younger, but some of us have to grow up, Collie. Do you know what I'm saying? So.
I know, yeah, just me with all my little.
I don't know if you realize that, Gav, but you were hot property in FIFA there in December because you were like one of the icon swap token things. So everyone was able to get the Gav Holohan. Yeah.
No, you might be able to go on to FIFA there and look for a few Spondulics out of that one there.
I might get into
it. They are shy, but like
yeah. They're rated 40 or something. But generally, you're in the game. Right, we'll jump off the comments there. Paddy, back onto you there. If you have any-
Yeah, I suppose you've had a long career now. You're playing in the UK. Have you ever
You're
been?
mad for saying that
Hey,
he's winning.
just leave the oldness alone, Paddy.
I'm not talking about that.
40.
Have you?
Repeat that.
When are you collecting your pension?
I'm gone deaf here.
I can't hear you. Yeah, get the hearing aid in.
No. Have you ever been starstruck playing against somebody or a team, or a bit like who's the biggest sports personality you've played against? Say.
Oh God, who would it be? Played against would have played against like Pogba and stuff, like when he was in the reserves at United and stuff.
Wow.
And you obviously knew then like that he was going to be like top world class, like yeah, pretty much, yeah. Not with the yeah. God, yeah, I'm trying to think who else. Well, there's no one I can really think of. Played against that, Mario Goetze.
Yeah.
No way.
He scored World Cup final winning goal.
Name drop. Mario Goetze. Oh yeah, I think we do. Yeah.
Mario. On the podcast next week.
Yeah, brilliant.
How did you play against him?
The Irish team under 17s. He was with Germany, yeah.
Jesus.
And who's the hardest player you've ever played against? Your toughest game?
Toughest game. I used to hate playing against, actually. Chris Shields. Oh my God. He was a nightmare to play against. I know you wouldn't expect that, but honestly, I used to hate playing against him. Shields, I used to say to him all the time, he was just like, he was a rash, like he was all over you, and he was quick and strong. He was a nightmare to play against.
On Saturday, maybe. So, sorry, I just want to ask, so is it Conor Gallagher you might be playing against now on Saturday?
Yeah. No, I will not get his shirt for you.
Oh, I took it out.
Begging.
Yeah. Paddy, sorry, I had to jump in.
No, you're all right. Go ahead, Conor.
I suppose for me, it's like obviously you mentioned about like the big moments in your career, the promotion medal. I'm not going to mention the Milk Cup with Cherry Orchard again. Set him off. Yeah. What's the two questions I have is what's the biggest goal you've ever scored? So like the most important, maybe the one that meant the most to you across your whole career, and then the best goal you've ever scored, just from the walk through the goal for me.
Biggest goal I've ever scored. Trying to think now. You put me on the spot. I can't even think of half my goals.
Too many.
That's not a bad complaint.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too many of them, yeah. No, I scored a couple of... You what?
Sorry, did you get goal of the season? Or sorry, goal of the month or something there about a month or two ago?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did, to be fair, yeah. That was
it has to be up there.
That was all right, I suppose. Overhead.
I actually have the trophy here, actually.
The camera just zooms across.
Yeah, no, that was probably one of my better goals. Yeah, but yeah, no, I scored a few big goals last year. Obviously, like with the promotion. Yeah, like kind of like coming towards like some of the big games at the end of the season that obviously were massive wins. So I scored a couple of big goals in them. Yeah.
The best goal.
Best goal, probably. I'd say probably that one I scored maybe the start of the season. That's probably one of my better goals against Carlisle. It's like a chest and volley.
Chest and volley. How far out are we talking?
25, 30 yards. Collie probably know better. He's probably seen it.
Well, look, I've scored many of them myself.
Five aside in the spa. Well,
yeah, on FIFA.
Collie, do you remember my goal from the halfway line?
Oh my God, that was outrageous.
Oh, that's the best goal I've ever scored. That's the best.
Yeah, that was a screamer. That was. Who was it? There was when you scored that. Someone looked around in shock. I can't remember who it was. I don't know if was it Johnny Williams or something at the time.
Yeah, it probably was. Yeah.
But when you scored, someone turned around. They went like that, and they were like, it was like they didn't want you to have scored it, but they were like, "What the fuck is it to score that?"
That'd have been Johnny Williams.
Yeah, 100%.
The last thing for me is there's a comment in there, Collie. You can just flash it up around
I mean, there's loads.
Obviously, the game of the weekend.
This one?
Yeah. Can we organise some kind of celebration if that actually does happen?
Ooh.
Go on then. What would you want me to do?
What are we talking?
I don't know. Do you have do you wear a vest underneath? Can we have a beyond the ball over the head? I'll take a jersey off.
I actually don't know if I'm able to sponsor, promote any.
Yeah.
No. Okay, but a celebration. I don't know if you can think of one, colleague.
What if you were to score and you run into that, you grab the ball, you hold the ball, and you go like that, and put your hand over it as if you're going beyond the ball. So you get the ball in your hand, you're running. This is the ball. You're after getting it out of the net. You run to the corner, and you just go.
I was just thinking more like
a
Timmy Cahill punch the corner.
He's not going to do that. He's not going to do that.
No, Gavin, it doesn't have to be a last-minute winner. It can be a goal at any time, right? We'll take what we can get.
Well, if I score on Saturday, I'll just be in the crowd. I'll just be straight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the last thing I think.
Telling them to subscribe to Beyond the Ball.
Yeah.
Tell us what it's
Actually, if you can have a word with Crystal Palace's media team and tell them I don't like them, because we were supposed to have someone on the podcast in 2 weeks' time, and they rang us and told us that they can't come on.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. Killian Phillips was supposed to come on. Or Kevin Phillips, as Paddy called him there the other day. He was supposed to come on. He's only after signing, and he'd agreed to come on and all. But he obviously, when he went over, had to tell them what we had planned, and he obviously mentioned the podcast. And then they got an email, and then they rang me and were like, they're after refusing local media interviews. So if he jumped onto this, they'd go mad. So they were like, maybe we'll get him on next season. I was like, well, okay, that's weird.
Right, yeah.
So upend loads of fellas when you see them.
Did I click that? Paddy, did I click that? Right? Sorry. Sorry, we've got something here there. 4,700 fans think we've got an Irish midfielder. That's where you're going to be getting, Gav. We usually do our quick fire questions, lads, but I think we've pretty much asked everything there, haven't we?
Yeah, they weren't that quick, but we've asked them.
Yeah,
anyway,
we went a long.
Gav, that was brilliant. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Gav. Look, I think we will call it a day there. We're coming up towards the hour mark anyway, so I want to say a massive thanks for coming on. Obviously, I'd fucking speak to you about the Cherry Orchard days for hours, but the lads don't want to listen to it. But no, I do want to say a massive thanks for coming on. I hope you spank Palace on Saturday. I really do. It'd be unbelievable if you do. So best luck against Palace.
Cherish
anyway.
it. You haven't got long left.
I feel like I'm going to die next week now. Like, fucking hell.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what Gav has left. God fucking help you.
Yeah, I'm fucked.
The cholesterol checked in the morning.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Gav, no, look, massive thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. Look, best luck with everything, all right?
Top man.
Paddy and Connor, nice of you joining us as well, yeah?
Cheers, man.
Nice
very much. Cheers, Gav.
For anyone that is watching and is watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Anyone that's listening on Spotify, make sure you follow us Facebook and Twitter the same. So we'll be back at the same time next week with who we got next week? Joe
Gorman.
Joe Gorman's on next week, yeah. So we'll be chatting to him a little bit about what's going on in his career at the moment. So thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you again Tuesday 8:30 next week.